Hi everyone, and welcome to a quick Humankind video, where I wanted to show you how air units work in combat in Humankind. Because I know a lot of people have been wondering how exactly that's going to work, and I managed to get a few in this playthrough. This was originally streamed on Twitch, but for those of you who don't watch me on Twitch, or maybe you do but you didn't see this particular stream, we are on turn 194. I got 3 biplanes over here, that's how many I managed to build before the game ended. And I basically had to beeline for aeronautics. That's the technology you need to get biplanes. I ignored a large part of the tech tree, as you can see here. And this is with 3000 science per turn, which is not like a game-breaking amount of science, but it's pretty high. I focused on science a fair bit. It's not easy to get a few thousand before turn 200. Either way, another reason why it wasn't easy to get biplanes on this map is because you need 2 copies of oil to get biplanes, as you can see on the tooltip here. So one of them is over here, which is to the south of your starting location, because this is Closed Beta, which had just one map. Same map every single time. And then there are 2 more sources of oil to the east, way to the east, with several AIs having their starting locations right next to them. So one source of oil here and one source of oil here. So you basically have to take that from the AI or maybe try to trade for it. The problem with trying to trade for it is that if the AIs are behind you in technology, then they will not know what oil is, and you will not be able to buy it from them because they haven't unlocked it. So really, the only viable way to do it here was to conquer it and take it myself. So that's what I did, that's why I have this one. So anyway, biplanes have 14 tile range, as you can see on the tooltip here, and they get grouped into squadrons, and they have to be stationed in an aerodrome. I have an aerodrome here, and I have a few others. I have a few to the west. It doesn't matter where exactly they are. Here's one. Point is, they need to be stationed in an aerodrome, and they have 14 tile range from that aerodrome. So now we can declare war on our neighbor here, and I will show you how exactly you can use them in combat. And they are pretty strong in combat, but they are not like game-breaking. And airstrikes should be strong, because if your enemy has air superiority in Modern Warfare, and there's nothing you can do about it, you should get wrecked. Alright, so I'm not going to do anything overly fancy here, this is just for demonstration purposes. So you can do 1 airstrike per turn, per squadron. So air units will count as support units, and you will be able to see them here on the support tab. And the way this works, you can do 1 airstrike per turn, actual in-game turn, not combat round. So when you have a fight that takes 1 turn but multiple rounds, you can only use 1 airstrike. If you have a siege that lasts multiple turns, then you can use it more than once in that siege. But you can only use 1 airstrike per squadron per turn. So the way this works, you target an area like this, 7 hexes total, and it will damage everything in that area, your own units included. So you have to be careful about how you position your units, because you might want to not damage your own troops, you know. Well, I mean, sometimes that might be acceptable. Some of you may die, but it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make, right? In this case, we will attack like so. That will hit 4 units. We can also attack like this. Like this. I could even move my guy out of the way and then attack this area. So I could move my unit back, assuming there's enough space, which there is. And then we can use the airstrike. These are just undeployed reinforcements, so they will not take damage. So this will also damage walls and districts, as you can see on the preview above. Let's do it. So here they come. And as you can see, that was pretty good damage right there. Now, these units are not particularly modern. He has a horseman in here with 27 strength. That is a bit of an obsolete unit when I'm using 40 base strength units here and 37. But it's still quite a lot of damage. If you're fighting somebody who's behind in tech and his army is largely obsolete, and you have air units, or vice versa, maybe you are behind in science, but your opponent unlocked air units, you are going to have a bad time. Because the airstrikes can definitely wreck you. Or you can wreck your opponent with airstrikes. Which is how it should be. That's kind of what I enjoyed about Civilization 5. In Civilization 5, especially on higher difficulty levels like Data, if the AI built a lot of bombers, but you neglected anti-air, you never built any fighters, you never built any mobile SAMs, then the AI could really wreck you with bombers. And some of the AIs in Civ 5 really liked building bombers. So that's how it should be, that's pretty much how it is in modern warfare. If your enemy has air superiority, then you are going to have a bad time. Now, I don't know how exactly that's going to be balanced in terms of anti-air. I haven't been able to get a game where the AI would also get biplanes, with me having them as well. Because if you look at the tooltip here, it does say that they will provide vision and counter enemy aircraft. So if my enemy had some biplanes in range, that means my squadron would get intercepted. But I don't know how exactly that would work. Like, would they get partially damaged but still perform the airstrike just with reduced efficiency? How many you need to prevent the airstrike from happening at all? There are a few unknowns. I also don't know if the game will have ground-based anti-air. I assume so. Things like mobile SAMs. But we don't know that yet. We don't know that for sure. We can make an assumption, but we'll only find out once we see contemporary era. Anyway, I mentioned that the airstrike is only once per actual game turn, and you can see here, we are in the next combat round, but if I hover over airstrike, it says it right there, that it cannot be done as this squadron has already done an action in this turn. So while airstrikes are really strong, you have to use them strategically. You have to think whether it's worth using it in this particular case. Because if you go to war and you end up having multiple fights per turn, which is fairly common, you probably don't want to waste, let's say, your only available airstrike on a fight that was easy to win without it. Because then you might get into a much harder fight and you will not have that airstrike available. So I do like that it can only be used once per turn. That means you really have to think about how exactly and where exactly you want to use it. And that's pretty much it, that's what I wanted to show you. We can maybe do another fight in a turn or two, so I'll make a quick cut here and move a little bit to the east. We can attack another city. Alright, so let's declare war on Orange here, and we can attack his city. He has a bunch of units nearby, and these are quite outdated, so this will be a nice target. Assuming he actually stays here, instead of running away. Okay, I think he will stay. So this way I will also demonstrate how range works. I mean, it's fairly self-explanatory, but this should be like just on the edge of the 14-tile range. So that's a perfect demonstration of that. Alright, let's assault the city. Obviously we'll do it manually. Keep the mounted units in the back. Because in case you didn't know, mounted units cannot scale walls, which makes sense. So if you attack a city with an army that has only mounted units and nothing else, and you don't have like siege weapons, you don't wait to build siege weapons, and you don't have anything else that can destroy walls, you will literally not be able to enter the city. But I digress. So now I can show you the airstrike here, and there we go. So you can see, this is the 14 tile range. So if I want to use the airstrike here, I can only use it like this. So if I actually want to use it, I need to move my units out of the way, otherwise they will get hit. And I probably don't want them to get hit. And they actually cannot even move enough. So if I want to open with an airstrike on this turn, one of my units will take damage. And it's going to be quite a bit of damage actually. Let's use it anyway for science. So I will show you just how much damage this guy will take. That's a fairly modern unit with 40 combat strength. And these guys have 22, 20, 21. These are like not very strong units. So let's use an airstrike like this, for science. I normally wouldn't use it like this. And there you go. We took 47 damage on this guy. So that is a fair bit of damage right there. However, I destroyed walls. Therefore, I can actually move in with my cavalry right here. Because like that wall is no longer there. So I can actually move in. Normally I would not be able to do that. And that's basically it, that's what I wanted to show you. I quite like the way they handled air units, even though there are still some unknowns, like how exactly interception is going to work, whether there will be any ground-based anti-air units, whether some of the naval units will be able to attack air units. I assume so. But this is just my assumption, we don't know any of these things for sure yet. We'll know a lot more once we're able to play with contemporary era. Alright, so before we finish, here's one more case of how you can use them. This is the same exact siege, but I reloaded the save. So I moved 2 biplanes to my aerodrome right here, much closer to the city, but I left one of them behind, back here. So this one is almost out of range, like a moment earlier, but these 2 are right next to the city I'm about to siege. So now I can show you how that's going to work. You can probably already guess how that's going to work. No need to play with the deployment too much. So now I have 2 different squadrons, and one of them is just barely in range, and the other one can hit pretty much anything I want. So in this case, I can use 2 airstrikes in one turn because I technically have 2 different squadrons. But the individual airstrike will be weaker, which sometimes is fine. Maybe you don't mind that it's weaker, because it's good enough. In case of fighting outdated units, it will be enough. But if you're fighting someone who's on par with you, then it might not be enough. Here we can hit these guys with 1 biplane, and there you go. You can see that I didn't even have to do anything. I just basically killed them with 2 airstrikes. So that's basically it. That's how you use air units in combat in Humankind. I hope you found this video useful, and if you were curious about airstrikes in Humankind, I hope I satisfied some of that curiosity. So again, thanks for watching this video, I appreciate it. Leave a like if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.